guys, it's Reagan, and today I'm here to recreate and kind of do the opposite of one of my most popular videos I've done on my channel, and that is, today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 YA cliches I love. This time, exactly pretty much. Last year, I talked about all the YA cliches I hated, disliked completely, and kind of talked through why. The thing is with reading YA, there are a lot of common tropes that we either like or dislike. And in that video, I definitely focus on the ones I disliked and kind of talk through why, but of course, on the flip side of that, I love YA. And there's going to be cliches that I actually really enjoy and look for. And the thing is with the cliche is, just because it's a trope or commonly occurring in a genre or a type of book like YA doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or you're not allowed to like it. And there are 5 that I really enjoy. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right in. The first cliche or trope that is very common within YA that I absolutely love is the boarding school setting. I pretty much embarrassingly will like seek out novels set in a boarding school. There's very little information that I need more than knowing that the setting is in a boarding school for me to pick it up. This boarding school setting can transcend all genres. I mean, obviously a magical boarding school is my favorite, but this can be like a normal boarding school. It could be like full of creatures. It could be a murder mystery. Just the fact that a boarding school exists is one that I really like. I couldn't even tell you why exactly. I think there's elements of a boarding school that offer kids more independence because they're not under the supervision of like living at home. So they can kind of more easily pursue a mystery or get in trouble, or they have to deal with conflict head to head a lot more often. So it just offers a more interesting setting sometimes. And there's just something that I feel like I've romanticized about boarding schools, probably because of Harry Potter, where I always kind of secretly wanted to go to one growing up, like an old one in a castle in like England. Gotta love a boarding school setting. The next trope or cliche that's often found in YA that I personally really love is disguise. Now this is a trope very often used in YA fantasy or just any fantasy, and I love it. It's essentially where we have one of our characters, main character usually, who has to basically be someone else to be able to exist within their world, or to find information, or to not get caught in some sort of social situation. Oftentimes it's a female who at the beginning of a story is faced with great obstacles, usually not being able to pursue a type of adventure or to get a certain type of information because she is female, so she becomes male throughout the book, or pretends to be, to basically allow her to enter aspects of society that she wouldn't otherwise be allowed to be in. Generally, a lot of these fantasy novels set during some sort of historically inspired medieval period or early history period, meaning women obviously don't have a lot of rights. So you see that translated in then women trying to circumnavigate the fact that they can't get the information they need. And this, of course, is usually always immediately combined with a love interest who doesn't know that our main character is in disguise, and we all live for it and love for it, and honestly, it's the best. A lot of my favorite books actually have this element. Troy of the Exile is one of them, to name one. There's a lot, I'm sure. Vengeance Road has this as part of it as well. I mean, it exists and I live for it. The next trope is probably the biggest one that exists in YA. It's probably present in every book, and in my opinion, if done well, I think it's a really successful story element. I mean, to be fair, it's been used since like the literal beginning of time, so I can't really fault it there, and that's the chosen one trope. This, of course, means that our main character normally comes from humble beginnings, a humble background, maybe not even a humble background, but regardless, they do not know of their divine and incredible destiny to exist for them throughout this entirety of a book series. At the beginning of the book, they are completely ignorant to the fact that they alone are responsible to save the world, or they alone with a group of close confidants are tasked with saving the world and everyone they know around them. This is pretty much present in any type of adventure story. And I particularly like it when there's some sort of prophecy or telling that this was going to happen from the beginning of time. We see this in Harry Potter. We see this in Three Dark Crowns. We see this in every Percy Jackson book ever. This is a trope that is really used as the central plot device in a lot of amazing stories, and I personally think it's just a fun trope because if done right, we have a character who wasn't expecting it, but all of a sudden has the weight of the world literally put upon their shoulders, and we have to see them persevere through a variety of obstacles and challenges, literally save the world. And I also feel like this trope is really effective and if done correctly, because it gives the feeling and it gives the reader that in a lot of ways, it could be anyone, it could be you, it could be the person next to them. It's like divine intervention occurred and it decreed that this person has to do all of these things, but it doesn't feel like this person is necessarily any more prepared to take on the task than anyone else. But obviously they probably will be, as we see through the story. We see their perseverance, their courage, their honesty, and we fall in love with them. Generally, I just think this trope is a lot of fun to read. Chosen One stories are usually have a lot to do with magic and fighting abilities, and it's great. This particular trope does lead into my next favorite thing, and that is secret abilities or magic. Again, this is generally very often paired with this Chosen One trope, as we have a main character that's just kind of living a normal life, existing within whatever world our character lives in, and then one day something happens, and they discover that not only have a huge destiny in front of them, but they have some sort of secret ability that they had no idea they had. Again, we see this in Percy Jackson. He just thought he was a bit of an oddball. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Turns out he's the son of Poseidon and has a lot of magical powers. This occurs in the Demon King. He's Hun Alistair, is just a thief, has these weird cuffs since the day he was born. He doesn't think it means anything. Turns out he's an incredibly powerful magician. I really just enjoy characters stumbling upon the fact that they actually have these immense abilities, but then I want to couple that with the fact I don't necessarily then like that they have immediate mastery of those abilities, but instead we follow them as they gain more control and train to be more powerful and more successful throughout the arc of the story. It's just that like they discover they have a huge reservoir of ability that they can tap into if they work hard enough to do it. I really enjoy that element to a story as well. And the last trope I'm going to talk about, which is probably one that might be a little controversial in a way. I don't feel like everyone loves this, but if done right, in my opinion, could be oh so juicy. And that is the complicated romance. I'm not a huge fan of love triangles, but this can technically filter in if done well. I'm thinking Shatter Me trilogy specifically. But like a complicated romance where two people love each other, but for some reason it cannot work through the most of the novel. That means we have anticipation, we have expectation. All we want for the people to get together, but we know they cannot for whatever reason. We just don't know. I feel like someone who is so good at this is Cassandra Clare. She has so many different types of pairings and romances where we just want them together through the course of a trilogy, but for one huge obstacle they cannot. And it's an obstacle that really makes sense keeping them apart. Like some miscommunication that can be resolved really quickly. It is a huge issue that is preventing these two individuals to come together that actually makes sense. It actually feels insurmountable and overwhelming. I feel like this is a lot of fun to read because I kind of alluded to this, the anticipation and just the pure desire of seeing how these two star-crossed lovers can possibly end up together. It just seems like something has to work out to make it happen, and usually it does, but it's still a sweet ride to get there, and I always enjoy it. I mean, again, I mentioned Cassandra Clare, but there are so many romances that are so good in this. It's just such a great thing to read. I mean, I don't know, I could just go on and on about it. It's probably my favorite romance. I generally don't read a lot of standalone romance novels, but when there's this complicated romance element thrown into a fantasy book and it's done really well, oh, I just live for that. It's my favorite. Alrighty guys, those are my 5 YA cliches that I love. Let me know down below some common tropes or cliches that you often come across in YA novels that you really enjoy reading if done well. I would love to know, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!